Funerals are elaborate, community-focused events often influenced by the deceased's social status. Asante tradition views funerals as a grand, celebratory transition for the deceased rather than a mournful event, blending traditional rituals with modern aspects. The elaborate process involves a week of preparation and rituals, including dressing the body, laying it in state for viewing, and offering burial things from attendees. The final funeral rites include feasting, music, and dancing, with close family members wearing specific colors, particularly black and red, and engaging in symbolic activities. Burial rite of Asante kings and queen mothers have a significant sacred rituals known as dotiye. It is one of the most elaborate ceremonies which blends customs, spirituality, and communal mourning. Unlike ordinary funerals, the dotiye is not performed immediately after death. However, it usually takes place between 40 and 80 days after the death of a king or queen. This, according to the Asante tradition, allows time for careful preparations. The rites mostly last for 3 or 4 days, reflecting the weight, importance, and symbolism. During the Asante ritual, mourning griefs are expressed through dirges, ritual wailing, drumming, and firing of musketry, while traditional drums such as atumpan, kete, and fontomfrom are played throughout the ceremony to symbolize both grief and reverence. The dotiye of the Asante tradition are performed for chiefs and queen mothers and is not merely a farewell, but rather reflects the Ashanti kingdom's belief in the immortality of the soul. The burial itself, particularly to that of the ASANTEHEMAA, takes place at dawn, even though the traditional rites begin at the Bantama Mausoleum before the queen mother's remains are taken in a solemn procession to the royal mausoleum at Bremen for final interment. A localized curfew is enforced along the funeral route to maintain order and preserve the sanctity of the ceremony. The attending bearers leads the procession with the traditional lighting system and drive any evil spirit or enemy from the route. Nana Ajini Mboaten, a cultural educator, explains that despite modernization taking over the explicit of funeral, Ashantis believes in the immortality of the soul and the need to ensure a dignified transition to the ancestral world.
Na na ba me share himfi a amama hu de wa asante mebo bi tse afahye ayie ani je ka hu ba ko na kwaso ha eye ayie na ayie ni o ma hu do bebre ye wo sikasa eno na na no trase enum sikasa no ani ye wo doti yie ene de kwaso me share himfi ha eye doti yie na ye ka doti yie a eye amamra ni amane a na nanu ye di obi a wawuo ekwahye fom saa amamra na o ye na kwahye fom no ani ese eye doti yie doti e a ofom yi ye di kwa kwhyem doti yie na ayiye no ani se na nanu mo didie se oni pafiri mu a o kwado fufu so apapa ne bra ejo so oja ne kwan ekwan pa so na odu kro fufu so onyama ne pa abo se oyi no dina beto abonten na amanfo de adidie twato ama no agya ne kwan yie ne se ayie na ayie no aye de nipa nko hye fom no ana aye doti yie na obusa se de enti ne tramen so na nam de nam nan ana aye ohima doti yie tete no se obi firi mu a ye no ye nie na onko se no prakope na oye niam ahodo bi a odi so hesa panipa no wu ana ade say otimi no anso hie a ehuru tutututu no odi nipa no nsa bi a nsa tia asim se enkwa woni nipa ni mu a enzo na hye eno ani nsa enti ebeda di sa panipa no ti ase wanye ma bebre Sanka Kadia so ni muda kabo se ya pa. Nunum sa so ni muda kabo se ya. What we the anka kaya nunum fra. No dia so the pamphlet. So tiasia obewansi. E dress up the money na wie na pa na anka no ho a. Ya na nu akiri no. What the pa si ku abaso adwaye. Na what the nioma hodo bia e ma nipa no empro aka no. Anka Kadia fruisa kakadro formisa ani nioma bebre. No, the champion who be a what at the hope by a good panaso. No, a bar pro afra was your phone. Abu Amania.
And that was a special feature by my colleague Abdul Basit Suleiman on the ongoing funeral rites of the late ASANTEHEMAA. Now, Abdul Basit Suleiman joins us by telephone for the latest on the ASANTEHEMAA's funeral. Good evening, Basit, and thanks for joining us on Newsnight.
Yeah, good evening, Mike, and good evening to our cherished viewers.
Right now, Basit, how are preparations going for the final funeral rites of the late ASANTEHEMAA?
Yes, today being the third day, there was a whole lot of activities at the Dementia Palace. Spiritualists and traditional groups from across Africa today set a tone for the funeral rites of the late ASANTEHEMAA Nana Konadu Yadom the third, with striking rituals and cultural display at the Dementia Palace today. There were a lot of delegations from Benin, Togo, across Africa who graced this occasion, as well as ministers of state, members of parliament, led by First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, majority leader, as well as MMDCs across the region. Tomorrow is a significant day in the whole activity, where the president is expected to attend, as well as the vice president and former president and former vice president. They will be attending the event tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the final day where the Queen Mother would be interned. According to the tradition of the Asante Kingdom, after the whole activities, she would be sent to the Bantima Mausoleum. Bantima Mausoleum was an ancient mausoleum where Ashanti kings and queens are being kept. Unfortunately, during the war between the Ashantis and the British, that place was destroyed. So almost all the mortal remains of the late kings were removed from that place to Bremai, which is the current final resting place of all the Ashanti kings. So immediately after the activities around 6 p.m., the family would send her to the mausoleum, where she will be laid there to meet at the dawn before the executioners will come there and take her to the Bremai Mausoleum. The Ashanti Regional Police Command has deployed about 1,000 policemen to ensure that all the necessary restrictions are being adhered to. Tomorrow there is going to be a restriction for movement within the entire Kumasi metropolis, especially within the CDB. All shops are expected to close, God willing, tomorrow, with the exception of some essential service providers like the electricity company, water company, ambulance, and other essential providers who have been directed to even show their identity while they go about their daily activities. There is also going to be curfew, God willing, tomorrow evening. So nobody will be allowed to move outside tomorrow, particularly getting to 10 p.m. No one is expected to be seen roaming outside tomorrow. The security personnel will be there to ensure that all this will be adhered to. So that is the preparation towards tomorrow's activity.
All right, so you were talking about the curfew. Is it going to be from, help us understand, give us more clarity on that?
According to the tradition of the Ashantis, when a queen or a queen is being taken to cemetery or the mausoleum, nobody is supposed to see the rituals that is being performed, because they will carry it right from Bantama through to Swam about to Bremen. Nobody is supposed to see the rituals that will be performed on the way. That is why there is a restriction of movement in the night. Nobody is supposed to come outside, but unless those who have been mandated to move with the body. That's the executioners of the palace. So apart from them, nobody is supposed to see what will go on. So the restriction, even though it's a traditional one, is often adhered by the general public within the metropolis. So this is what would be expected, God willing, tomorrow.
All right. Many thanks for speaking and sharing those updates with us. Abdul Basit Suleiman is our Ashanti regional correspondent, bringing us updates so far as the final funeral rites of the late ASANTEHEMAA is concerned. And here is where we pause and take a breather and return with some more stories.